Mr. Casbon, will you call the meeting to order, please?
Mayor, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council for July 19th, 2012 to order. On roll call, council members Castiglia.
Here.
Coletti.
Here.
Conboy.
Here.
Chewinski.
Here.
Monsino.
Here.
Work.
Here.
Mayor Moller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Will everyone please rise for a prayer and flag salute? Oh God, our Father, we ask you to bless this meeting and trust, which we trust to your fatherly care and protection. Please remove all selfishness and prejudice from our hearts and plant therein a keen sense of justice and a greater love for you and our neighbor. Guide us in our deliberations so our decisions will always please you, bring peace and happiness to our community. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Law of the State of New Jersey requires the commencement of every meeting as stated by the presiding officer, now therefore be advised, the meeting requirements of this meeting have been met by posting an annual notice in the record of Hackensack and the Herald News of Woodland Park, and by posting such notice in the office of the Borough Clerk, as well as in the public place within the municipal building, and notifying interested citizens. Said notice was posted on January 1, 2012.
Mayor, this evening, under the approval of minutes, we have the June 14th, 2012 work session, the June 14th, 2012 executive session, the June 21st, 2012 regular meeting, the June 28th, 2012 work session, and the June 28th, 2012 executive session.
Gentlemen, I'm going to ask for a motion. If you've missed any of these meetings, when I get the motion in a second, just indicate what meeting you're going to abstain on. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Council President Work, second.
Second.
Mr. Conboy?
That's Larry.
Mr. Castiglia? Is there any councilman here who wants to abstain on any one of these dates?
Yes, Mayor. The work meeting and the executive meeting on June 28th, that was that.
Okay, will you put that down, Mr. Casbon?
Yep.
Mayor, I would also like to abstain on the work session of June 14th.
Okay. Anyone else? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Castiglia.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Conboy.
Yes.
Chewinski.
Yes.
Monsino.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mayor, this evening under ordinances, we have 4 ordinances on second reading. Resolution 230-12. Introduce ordinance 12-13 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance to Amend Chapter 34 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood
Excuse
Park.
me 1 minute. Can you all hear? I'll shut the air conditioner if that's making too much noise. Okay, go ahead.
An ordinance entitled, An Ordinance to Amend Chapter 34 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Zoning and Site Plan Review. And whereas the said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, June 21st, 2012, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance to Amend Chapter 34, the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Zoning and Site Plan Review pass on final reading. Mayor will need to open this second reading up to the public.
May I have a motion open to the public, please?
So moved.
Mr. Stiglia, second.
Second.
Mr. Work, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this ordinance, please rise, come to the microphone, and give us your name and address.
Mayor, if I may, before the public begins, this ordinance needs to be reviewed by the Borough Planning Board. It was sent over to the Planning Board after introduction. It was not timely, but it was sent over after introduction. We will not be able to adopt this ordinance until the Planning Board has sent back their comments and recommendations to the Mayor and Council. We will in fact hold a public hearing on this because it was advertised as such, but ultimately this ordinance will need to be tabled this evening until we're in receipt of those comments and recommendations from the Planning Board.
Can you hear the public on it?
Oh, that's the meeting is for. Yes, we're going to hear the public on it today, and there will be no public hearing on it when we vote on it. Anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard?
Why don't we wait for the comments before we hear the public, see what the planning board has to say?
It's been advertised today, so we have to hear it
So
today.
we can table it until the next and have it again?
It's been advertised, we can
No,
table
I
it
understand.
after we advertise it. It's been advertised for a public hearing today, we have to have the public hearing today. And then.
Technically, we can't hear the second reading until the planning board reviews it. There's no attorney here, but I think we have to have that input first, so it's
No.
consistent.
I think we should hear it, and if you want another public hearing later, you can have another public hearing
All right,
later.
I'm just
Anyone who
saying.
wishes to be heard? Mr. Kaplan.
Good evening, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Name and address, please.
Oh, Mel Kaplan, Glenwood Avenue, Elmwood Park. I've been a member of the Elmwood Park Planning Board for 37, 8 years. And in all the years, we've had a very good rapport with the building department. I understand some of you people have proposed an ordinance to change some of the ordinance's rules. Can someone tell me exactly what you want and what is the purpose of it? Any of you councilmen who proposed this ordinance?
If I may, Mayor? 5 out of 6 of us have approved this already. Mel, you were at the work meeting, I assume, right? When we discussed this?
Yeah.
Okay. And the intent of the ordinance is to bring it more in line with most of the other towns? Or like, take for example, the bakery that just came into town. The ownership was changed, just the ownership. Not
Yeah.
the business, not the location, no parking, nothing. That had to go to the planning board. Short and long of it is, it costs money and time. And the bottom line is, if you talk to some other businesses that would have came here before, they're not willing to forego that kind of money to come here. They'll go to Fairlawn or Saddlebrook. So what we did is took the same power that you had on the planning board and gave it to our zoning officers where it should be. There's still, like, if any questions come up, or if there's a change of use over a certain square footage, or is there any doubt, it goes to the planning board. And to even further that better, we did an experiment. We took your last 7, the prior month before this one, 7 applications and gave them to the building inspector to coincide, the zoning officer to do like what you would do. And 5 out of 7 would have went to the planning board. It's just a streamline of the process. It's not circumventing any laws. The zoning laws are there. It just streamlines the process.
Yeah. At the last planning board meeting, the board took a survey of the 5 applicants. 4 out of the 5 had been looking for in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 months before they came here. There was no urgent need to streamline anything.
Well-
And let me finish. And the 5th one, since we don't meet in August, asked if he could be heard at the public meeting, because there was really no problem there. And within 10 minutes' time, one meeting, we streamlined it and approved it. Now, my feeling is that any applicant, any retail store, any applicant, factory, office building, whatever, come to the planning board in the course of conversation. Well, first of all, any business that doesn't have a lawyer with him when he opens a business is a fool, but that's beside the point. When an applicant comes to the board, how many times have I noticed on these applications a wrong address, fraud, misrepresentation, all of these little minor things which the building inspector, who is a part-time man, I don't think he can sit down and question an applicant such as the planning board does. And in this at the last meeting, an applicant came in And in the course of the conversation, lo and behold, we noticed he had a rental which he had never come to the planning board for. Through coming to the board and asking questions, we found a fraudulent piece of property fraudulently occupied. That's what I feel. No matter what or who, every applicant that needs to come to the planning board versus the zoning board, it's imperative that they come before the board for the protection, for the growth, for the goodwill of the town. It's just that if you streamline it to a point, you're going to end up, unfortunately, like there was an applicant, a nail salon came in. My God, they've got 5 parking places and they need 10, 12. They had upstairs tenants and all kinds of things. Unfortunately, it was grandfathered in, we had to give it. But in the future, there's one more empty store there, which they can't rent unless they get parking. But if they hadn't come to the planning board, we wouldn't have known they were going to have nails and hotbeds and tanning and foot and ears, eyes, nose, and throat, whatever.
Mel,
Yes.
let me ask you something. How did you find that out?
By asking questions.
See, I think all right, can I say something?
Well,
Yes, all right, Larry, go ahead.
I think what you're trying to say is that a 9-member board probably would pick up on something, more likely to pick up on something that a one man might be missing.
And one man who's working part-time.
Well, that's beside the point, but it's still one man.
Gentlemen,
To 9.
I really do suggest you leave the ordinance for the planning board be. Let us do our job. Many of us, Larry's been on the board many years. I've been on the board many years. I've seen many, over the years, many applications come in where during a dry, for argument's sake, during a dry period, there was no water. During a rain, this little gully behind the house is a raging brook. They wanted to build on it. I had remembered from years back, there was a stream there, wasn't there one time? And I said, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about it. This is where the planning board comes in. And I really do think, gentlemen, for the betterment of the town, leave the planning board, have their meetings, and to ask questions. And by asking questions, we will save the borough time, effort, and possibly lawsuits or whatever. I think I made my point.
If I may, Mayor.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Mr. Costello.
Go ahead, Larry, you have something to say?
No, I just wanted to bring it
Go ahead, Mr. Costello.
Mel, if you stay there for a second.
Yeah, sure.
And we go back a long way, and you know I've been
Yeah,
around land
yeah.
use.
Hey,
Okay.
nothing personal.
No. First of all, the building inspector works full-time for both towns. You can call him in Rochelle Park as well as here. He said that on the record.
Whoa, he's full-time?
Full-time for two towns.
How can he be full-time
He's
for two
full-time.
towns?
He works 20 hours here and 20 hours there. It's called shared services, Mel.
Yeah, so that's part-time.
But you can reach him in.
All right, let's not be semantic on words.
No, this is the truth. You can reach him in Rochelle Park. If you have to call him for business and he's not here, like he's here one morning for 4 hours, he's here one afternoon. Suppose he's not here that next morning, you want to talk to him, you could call him in Rochelle Park and discuss Elmwood Park business.
Okay,
That's on the
fine.
record. Okay, now, getting back to the zoning laws. The zoning laws are in place. If they come to you and say, Mel, we're only going to have 5 people working in that nail place. We're not going to do anything else. You have to approve that application. Now, later they go in and they put, like you said, they do toes and whatever else they do. The building inspector has to go out and say, look, here's the resolution that was passed. And likewise, when he gives that continued CO, that is like a Bible. That's a sworn testimony, that CO. If he puts on there for 5 cars, 5 people, whatever, that holds up in court. It's what it has to be done. Now, this is done in 99% of the towns. We're one of the few left. And if you talk to business or come down to a chamber meeting where there's right now about 60 members, you will get the consensus that a lot of businesses do not come here because of that. Why? Because they're not going to, like a bakery, same business. Why does it have to go to a board? It goes to a zoning officer, which by law is your construction official. Now, we've had problems in the past, granted, with other inspectors, as far as zoning goes. Those people should have been let go if they weren't doing their job, Mel. But I beg to differ with you to say that every application should come to the board. If you look at what the building inspector did last time, 5 out of 7 would have went there.
Forget what the building inspector did before. We're talking about the present building
Right, no,
inspector. Now, let's get
no,
back
no,
to,
last month's application. This was last month's. the
let's
one
get
before.
back to the bakery. Why did they have to come in?
If I can...
We went through this.
Wait,
back-
just let me get this one point. The bakery, what if the bakery in asking questions said, oh, yes, he's going to have a pastry baker and a bread baker and a sales girl and a cashier. These are employees. Where was he going to put these employees? Park them on the street? But no, he came in, we questioned him, and there's going to be, him and his wife are going to operate it with and employ one parking place.
And then he's going to say to you, Mel, at the planning board, what do you want for me to have approval if I can't have these employees? Okay, I will not have 5 employees, I'll have 2. And then he goes in and has 5 later. You're not going to stop it by just his words. It's going to have to be enforced.
No, but there's a...
How many times have people come to you before and say of our hours of operation are...
Yeah, I know, so they
till
extended
6,
an
and we find
hour.
out- No, Mel, because I get the calls on this, and I turn them over to the building department. Certain businesses have a resolution for certain times.
Yeah.
And they've been operating on Sunday. Now they have to go out and enforce it. But they told you people when you approved it, we're only going to work 8 hours a day. We're not going to work till...
Then why doesn't the building department, the building inspector, get these notices and
He
take
does.
care of
He gets
it?
the calls, he takes the resolution. Now,
Okay, so what's the problem?
That's what I'm saying. What's the problem with going to him instead of the board? He's going to give a CO which says your hours of operation. are this.
Because he doesn't have 9 people asking questions
fine.
to come up with
He works here all the time. He's in the town. These people are
I'm
here at
sorry.
night. I beg to differ.
us 9 people sitting on that board as a group asks more questions than one person who, and again I will say, is here part-time.
If it involves a variance or a change of use, I can understand it. But if it's a continued CO for a like business, I'm sorry. I
All right,
disagree.
Is there
gentlemen,
anyone else who wishes to ask any questions? Yes, ma'am. You finished, Mel?
yes, gentlemen,
Thanks, Mel.
thank you.
Does this affect
Ma'am, if you could go to the microphone and say your name and address for the record?
Gail Maida, and I'm the president of Parkview Co-op on River Road and Route 4. Does this affect large buildings like the Ford Place that's going to?
Actually, what we're talking about, the bakery, doesn't even apply to this ordinance.
I know, because-
This ordinance, let me just tell you, this ordinance says it shall be issued to any building exceeding 10,000 square feet.
Which that is, it's over 28,000.
That's right. But when we're talking Market Street and Route 4, we're not even talking those buildings. This ordinance
Unless the
doesn't
building's
apply
over
to
10,000
Market
square
Street
feet, then you're talking
and Route
about-
4.
Any change of ownership goes to the
No,
board
it-
right now.
it doesn't. Wait a
He
minute.
just went to the board.
Can I finish, Mr. Chewinski? This ordinance only applies to buildings over 10,000 square feet, which the building you're talking about is.
Right.
There's also a part of the ordinance that we have that's not on here, that relates to Market Street and Route 4. That's still in existence. So we're not talking about the bakery. That ordinance is still on the books. We're talking about large, over 10,000 square feet, which will be yours.
Right.
The question I have is, since we do have an ordinance that says you can't, you have to come to the planning board if you're on Market Street or Route 4, Broadway, that's still there. I don't know if this applies to that. Does one supersede the other? I don't think so.
And this is our concern. I mean, we're a residential community that borders on a commercial community. We've now become a 55 and older community. When Ford applied to put those stores in, we were here, we had Mr. Dutch representing us because we were concerned about some of our issues, where the garbage container was going to go, where the fencing was going to go, the type of lighting that was going to be put up, and he kind of helped us to work with the planning board to get both sides to kind of feel comfortable with what the agreement was going to be. Now, if that original project falls through and Mr. Coven decides to put something different in there, will we be notified and be given the same opportunities? Or is this just going to be sloughed off? I mean, I agree with this gentleman. I'm president of my board, but I do not make decisions for my board. I told them when I took over a couple of years ago as president, this is not a dictatorship. Everybody speaks, everybody has their opinion, everybody votes, and sometimes somebody comes up with an idea that the rest of us didn't think of, and we kind of come to a consensus and make a final decision. I don't think that one building inspector should make the whole decision.
Anyone have any comment?
I would just like to say to the lady that this does not apply to anything that size. This ordinance here that we're talking about doesn't apply to that. It would automatically go to the building.
I thought he said any building 10,000 square feet or more.
It'll go automatically to him. Anything over
No, it
10,000.
goes, everything goes before the zoning officer
Anything,
first.
excuse me, anything over 10,000 square feet, which will be your building,
Right.
goes to the zoning board.
Correct.
And the zoning official will decide whether he wants to
He'll
send it,
decide whether it goes to the planning board.
whether it comes to the planning board. Now, I submit to you that when it came to the planning board before, all those other items that were listed
Right.
will remain. What's going to happen is any of the businesses that might want to come in will just go to him and not the planning board. So you will not know what's
What's
going
happening.
in because it doesn't come to a public
Doesn't,
forum like here at
There isn't a
this
public
meeting.
meeting. There isn't a public hearing on it.
Right. And
So you will not know. So you had some concerns about what's going in there, I remember that.
we do. And my unit owners keep asking me what's happening, and I say, well, so far I talked to the mayor, I don't hear what's going on.
Right
But if
now-
we're not going to be informed, and I mean, plus the fact that, you know, we only have that one driveway off of Route 4 to get out of our complex. And if something eventually is going to go in there that's going to cause a lot of traffic, we're going to have an awfully hard time getting in and out of our complex. So we have to think of our community and the protection for our 54 unit owners. So this is our concern.
That's why it's good to come to the planning board so that the planning board can review it. Just to tell you where it stands now, it doesn't stand anywhere. They were supposed to put that crossover on Route 4 so they can make a left turn to go into the complex.
I remember that
The
discussion.
state has not done anything with that yet. They're still waiting for some environmental procedures to be accomplished. And all that was supposed to be done last spring already. It's
And
this-
I was the one that brought up those environmental issues because their attorney didn't even know about it. I had to bring in my paperwork that I saved.
So I don't know when that's going to happen. I was told that they may be doing something with Route 4 shortly. That was 3 weeks ago, so I don't
Right.
know what shortly is.
I don't know either.
So once they put that cutoff on Route 4 to get into that property, then the owner has the ability to rent out that property for how many stores he wants to rent it out to.
Right.
So that would be why it would be beneficial to be heard here at the planning board so that all of you can come and make your statements.
But will we be notified? That's the
If the
problem.
ordinance is changed, no.
I
And
beg
so
to
this is our objection. We're opposed to this
Unless the
because
zoning board remands it back to the planning board.
we have no way to protect ourselves.
Right,
If I may, Mayor?
sure.
I beg to differ. If that building where you was 28,000 square feet, if it goes to the zoning officer and he pulls out the existing building, it was a Ford company, whatever it was, a car place.
Right.
If it's over 10,000 square feet and it's not in the same use or a different site plan, it's going to go to the board. And I will have that clarified. That's why I wish our attorney was here at the next meeting.
That's up to him to decide.
No, it's not. It's automatically has to go, Mayor.
Then why are we doing this ordinance?
We're protecting the ones
10,000.
under 10,000 square feet, where
Doesn't-
business like business. If Ford comes back into that building, the same owner came right back to that building, do you think he has to go to the planning board? If he came back with the same use, would he have to go to the planning board?
I don't know.
But you think he should? The owner, the tenant just left, he comes back into his building. Should he go back to the planning board?
Yes,
Maybe,
For the same building? For the same?
yes.
because they've already done work inside and pulled up flooring and
No, I'm saying, if
everything.
it's, say the building was untouched, nothing. He moves his cars out, moves his cars back in. He needs a CO again. Should he go back to the planning board? He was there. It was permitted use. But the safeguard here is it's 28,000 square feet, so no matter what happens, he has to go to the board.
Then
Oh, it's over
I
10,000.
don't understand why, and I don't know who proposed this ordinance.
This is from Paramus, this is our borough attorney proposes, who put this
Who gave it to the
together.
borough attorney?
Our attorney put this together for us when we put
Our
through.
attorney put it together.
Yes, I wish he was here to answer these questions, but unfortunately, that's why I figured we'd carry
Let
them
me,
to the next work meeting, public meeting, when the attorney's here, so we can better answer these questions. But the way I read it is over.
All right, when will the next meeting be? Because I'll come again.
Absolutely. When's the next public board?
it's in August.
August 16th, and the attorney will be here then?
Hopefully. And you can come to the work meeting if you want, we'll discuss it there too, because he should have been here tonight. I don't know what happened, to be honest with you.
Let me indicate to you that I don't know why we're changing this ordinance and why on a committee that was formed decided that this is the ordinance we want to change. The ordinance affecting Market Street and Route 4 is not part of this. No matter what happens, they're still going to have to come to the planning board. Market Street and Route 4 still comes to the planning board. That's the bakery. And I think that's what most people were interested in talking about. This particular ordinance is anything over 10,000 square feet. If Mr. Chewinski says, well, this is all changed, he has to come here, then why bother with this? If
No, over
everybody-
10,000 square feet has to go to the board. He has to look
Then
at the
why
site
are
plan on an
we-
individual
then
basis.
why are we
Mayor,
changing
getting-
this?
You're twisting it around here, I'm
Then why
sorry.
are we changing
Which-
this?
I told you
Anything
why we
over
changed it
10,000
5
square
times.
feet, excuse me.
went
Anything
through
over,
this-
excuse me, anything over 10,000 has to come to the board. What are we
Correct.
changing this for?
Under 10,000.
It doesn't say anything under 10,000.
It's right there, over 10,000, under 10,000 goes, everything goes to the zoning officer first.
No,
But anything over
you still
10,000 is
have-
automatically going to the
You
board.
still have under our ordinance book, 34-44.4, site requirements, item F, any change in the use of occupancy of business and/or commercial properties on Market Street and Broadway in the CL and CG district zone shall be referred to the zoning administrator and construction official to the planning board to review. So anything on Market Street, no matter what size, or Broadway, no matter what size, has to come to the planning board. So that what we're passing tonight has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do. As a matter of fact, I asked the zoning official that we have, and I said, if we pass this ordinance, what happens to any area less than 10,000 square feet? And his answer was, nothing.
That's right.
Nothing. So
If
what are we
if
changing
it's-
ordinances for?
If it's less than 10,000 square feet and it's the same business, if somebody goes into Lil's Delicatessen as a delicatessen, he would not have to go to the planning board
No, it
if he
doesn't-
meets the requirements of that particular.
Mr.
Store that was
Castiglia,
there.
Can I just bring up one thing? I think we get all confused on this here. Now,
And you know what, Larry, we have plenty of testimony back and forth.
I
It
have
is-
an
it is-
ordinance.
Use the microphone, please.
Hang on a minute.
Use the microphone.
I have an ordinance here, ordinance number 8810, so that's 1988, this ordinance was passed. The ordinance reads, "In all non-residential zones, no certificate of occupancy shall be issued for use in any building exceeding 10,000 square feet without first having been referred to the planning board." That's the way the ordinance reads. This new ordinance tonight will reverse that.
It's going to go to the zoning officer first,
And
and
then-
then he's going to refer it to you.
Then why are we changing
Why
it?
you don't say
Because
that?
Mayor, I can't tell you enough times, it's under 10,000 square feet that's going to save those businesses the time.
Doesn't change that. This is.
It does. I think we need a legal opinion here, and unfortunately, we don't have our lawyer here.
Well,
So I'll
I-
defer to the next meeting till the lawyer.
I agree with you. Unfortunately, he's not here, but the ordinance that
hoping
you
he would've
looking
been
to
here.
change, the ordinance that you're looking to change is on Market Street and Broadway. That's not the ordinance we have on the book that
We're
we're
looking
talking
to
about.
change the overall ordinance, Mayor. So,
I
I'm
would
gonna-
venture to say, and I will make some comments later on, I would venture to say, it's confusing here, and some of the
It is.
councilmen aren't
Yeah, well,
sure exactly
I know.
what's happening.
bear in mind, we've been through this for about 4 meetings now, and I'm sorry you came in late. But there is more that goes back a longer way with this, with the committee, and the 5 out of 6 was that voted for it. And unfortunately, like I said tonight, the attorney's not here to address some of the issues that we really need to address for you people. And I know your concerns, and I agree with your concerns. But there are certain zoning laws in place that even the planning board cannot circumvent. This just streamlines the process. It's not going to say that, oh, we're going to put a 10-story building next to you. They can't do it.
Right.
Okay.
Because, you know,
August-
years ago, we had that problem with the flea market. The
No, I
lights
understand.
used to go out, it was like disaster over there.
Right.
And I don't know if that went through the planning board then, but if it didn't, then that's
No,
the
it
good
didn't.
reason for
Sometimes-
having a
That was
planning board.
before the ordinance I just read.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you, sometimes a business will go, some people will go to the planning board and promise you're going to do this, that, and the other thing, and they'll just do what they want anyway. And our only recourse is later send the building department out, find them with a violation, then go to court.
No problem then.
Because the electric in that building was horrendous.
Okay.
All right, then,
August.
is it August 16th?
Anyone else who wish to be heard on
Okay.
this ordinance? Mr. Kaplan, short and
If I
sweet.
just may, to help my friend here, if, for argument's sake, Ford Motor Company comes back into their old building, they would have to come to the planning board because we have new parking rules, which they must now conform to. Originally, probably they can park 100 cars, I'm just using a round number. We now have new parking ordinances which would limit them to 50 parking places. Well, I'm just using numbers, or whatever. That's the reason they would have to come back. Also, if they came back in, they have to notify everybody within 200 feet, if that makes you feel better. Thank you.
Anyone else who wish to be heard on this ordinance? If not, I'll close the public portion of the ordinance. Any comments by the council?
You mean discussion? Is this
Yeah.
discussion now, or? Well, I had some stuff here that I did want to say, but now I'm even confused on the ordinance. I don't even know what we're arguing about anymore. If stores over 10,000 are going to come to the planning board, then why is it written that they're not? This is what I don't
It doesn't
understand.
say that, it goes to the
I have it
zoning.
right, if I'm reading this right, number 12-09, isn't this the current one we just redid, right? It says right here, in all non-residential zones, no certificates of occupancy shall be issued for use in a building exceeding 10,000 gross square feet in an area without first having been reviewed by the zoning officer for compliance of use, the approval of the site plan.
That's the one we're trying
That's
to
the zoning
pass.
ordinance, that's the building inspector.
Zoning
Okay.
officer.
Prior to this ordinance, you had to come to the planning board. Everybody came to the planning board.
That's what I have right here, 8810.
And the zoning
So
officer
that-
will have to send them.
So then why are we changing it? If everybody has to come to the planning board.
Not everybody.
But it's the
The
same
same
as this.
business
Because
under
there's a lot of
10,000 square feet
It
will not have
doesn't
to go.
affect anybody under 10,000 square feet.
What do you mean?
It doesn't affect Market Street. It doesn't affect Route 4.
Beg to
Those are
differ with you,
different
Mayor.
ordinances.
I'll defer to a lawyer, but I beg to differ with you.
You can beg to differ. You're the one
Don't be
pushing this
condescending,
ordinance.
Mayor. It's
You're
5
the
out of
one-
6 votes we're here for this,
Excuse me.
Mayor. We talked about
Excuse me,
this.
when you're sitting in my chair.
Mayor, we
then
talked.
you can preside at the meeting. Presently, I'm presiding at the meeting.
Go ahead.
And what I'd like to say is, I don't know why we're changing this ordinance if the zoning official is going to send anything over 10,000 square feet to us. That's the way it is now. Why are we
I don't get
changing
it.
it?
What are we talking about?
I just explained to you. The bakery,
the
1,200
bakery's
square
got
feet.
nothing-
And I
the
just
bakery's got
went
to do
to
with
the-
building over 10,000
I
square feet.
think there's a problem in the way it's worded.
Yes.
Well, we'll defer.
That we have to say.
Use the microphone,
up to 10,000
please.
square feet.
And what I'm
Say
saying
that they can't
here,
hear.
and what I'm saying here is we have an ordinance, and I've read it before, that everything on Market Street or Route 4 has to come to the planning board. We're not changing that. That's not this ordinance. That one's still in effect. So the bakery is not going to be changed. It's not going to be
Well, I
affected
think
by that.
that part ordinance will be superseded by this, Mayor.
Well, if it's superseded by that, then you have to get this ordinance out.
It will. It's going to be
It's not-
automatic.
No, it's not doing it. All you're doing is getting this one out down here.
Mayor, this is the one it's going to replace, so we'll talk to, when Brian comes in, we'll bring it to the meeting and you can talk to him. We've only had 6 meetings on it.
All I have to say is I did speak to the the zoning official, and he said it has nothing to do with Market Street and Route 4. Absolutely nothing. He said anything that goes on 10,000 or over, that's what's going to him. Anything on Market Street and Route 4 is still in effect. Still in effect.
I can see when he comes in.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
may I? We are probably confusing
Yeah.
the audience here because we're confused.
Now we're
I
confused.
think we should just sit back, wait till the next work meeting, and clarify all this.
Okay.
And by the way, the work meetings are open to the public. If you're allowed to come to that, can you give them the times?
August 2nd at 8 o'clock will be our next work meeting. Mayor, if I may, this resolution will need to be tabled regardless of whether
Right.
it's held over to
Yes.
the next public meeting. I can gladly place it on the agenda for August 2nd so that it can be thoroughly vetted with the presence of the borough attorney, so that the council does have a true understanding of what's intended here. And then, depending on the outcome of that discussion, may need to be reintroduced if there's any substantial changes to the ordinance, or it can be held over until the planning board gives back their comments and recommendations and can be adopted after.
Thank you. Mr. Castiglia, did you have anything you wanted to go over?
Not anymore now, I don't think, Mayor.
Okay, I would like to read a statement, okay? On this particular ordinance. This ordinance, in my estimation, is the most unnecessary ordinance we've ever voted on. Here are some of the reasons. Number one, A, no one has ever publicly complained in writing or verbally to the mayor and council on record with a specific application except Marcal, which is located on the boulevard. They were in at one of our work meetings. No one has ever been denied approval of any application to the planning board except 7-Eleven on Market Street. They went to court and they won. No one has ever complained about the cost. No specific applicant has objected about the cost to their attorney if they are an LLC, that's a limited liability corporation. If they are a limited liability corporation and have only one member as a member of the limited liability, they don't have to bring an attorney. State law says if you have more than one person in the limited liability, you must bring an attorney. Not us, state law says that. All others who are not limited liability, they can bring an attorney if they want or they don't have to. And I would suggest that almost 50% of the people who come to the planning board do not bring an attorney. They don't have to. If this ordinance is passed, all applications exceeding 10,000 gross square feet must be reviewed by the zoning official who will determine if it should come to the planning board. If it should come. No disrespect to the present zoning official, however, he is presently part-time employee who does not live in the town and will review the application. This is opposed to the present ordinance where we have 9 appointed members of the planning board who all live in the town, including a member of the council, Mr. Castiglia, and the mayor, myself. These are 18 eyes reviewing the application instead of 2. I consider this to be a very positive, effective review if we do it, and quite frankly, I consider it a slap in the face to the planning board, whose board members have been carefully assessing applications, some for many years. Mr. Kaplan said over 30. Mr. Castiglia is on that board for over 25 or 30 years already. And he is a colleague of this council. So you have to trust what he's doing. Since 2006 alone, the planning board has voted on 241 applications, many which have benefited from the suggestions to improve the application. Only 2 have been denied, as I mentioned, one being 7-Eleven, corner of Market Street and the Boulevard. Both of those items that were denied were eventually overturned by the court in Hackensack. However, some applications have been withdrawn when they came to the planning board until further review, such as the Head Shop, store on Route 4 that sold pipes, smoking pipes. We went to the police department and they told us that that may be a problem selling pipes in that store. The applicant withdrew. There was a farmer's market who came in. I think Mel Kaplan mentioned this. Farmer's market came in on Broadway, and a question was asked, you know, you only have limited parking. And he suggested, well, I'll park across the street in the shopping center. He said, you can't do that. He withdrew his application. There's a store that came in on Market Street. They wanted to sell junk. They visit homes that somebody died, they bought the furniture, or somebody's moving, they buy the furniture. We asked him where he's gonna store all the furniture and everything else. He said, on the street, I want people to see a couch or whatever. They can't do that. He withdrew his application. Now, in some questions, maybe the zoning official could find that out, but if it's just a use of retail use, may not ask that question. May not ask that question. At the last planning board meeting, one of the members discovered, Mr. Kaplan, that there were changes made in the building under review that should have come before the board. The owner of the building was instructed to come before the board as soon as possible because it's illegal. If the planning board has approved 99% of the applications, many with major improvements that people accepted, what is to be gained by eliminating the planning board from this process? I venture to say that maybe unofficial complaints, I indicated we haven't had any official complaints, are from people or those who want to apply, but are afraid to come to the planning board because they may be asked questions they rather not answer. And they decide to not come to the planning board because they want to do something that may not be kosher. The planning board presently hears all applications in public view. Meets in the council chamber right here. It's publicly announced they meet on the first and second, Wednesdays of every month, except August. It has an attorney present at all meetings. It has a court stenographer present at all meetings, and everybody is under oath. This provides an undeniable record if problems later develop. This is a complete opposite of the zoning official review of the application behind closed doors in his office with no official record being taken, no oath of office being taken or under oath, and thus having the possibility of being changed at a future date. It also opens the door for possible interference by outside sources. Let's continue transparency. Let's have it here in the council chamber, where all applications can be completely reviewed in a public forum. At the last planning board meeting, I personally asked each applicant how long they had looked for business in town. Of the 4 applicants, one said 6 months, three of them said 4 months, and one of them said, after 4 months, I finally decided I want it, and he got in here in 10 days. If he goes to the zoning board, he has 20 days he could wait. I'm not saying he might wait 20 days, but it only took him 10 days to come in. This doesn't appear to be a time restriction. To say we're losing tax ratables, this is wrong, because if you own a store and it's not being rented, you still have to pay your tax. You can appeal it, but then you have to prove why you're losing money on it. The Democratic majority attempted to revise this ordinance 5 or 6 years ago and then voted against their own ordinance. Now the Republican majority is trying to do what the Democrats said. I don't want to do that. We have a part-time shared service zoning office. We share them with Rochelle Park. Rochelle Park has an ordinance that says all applicants, everybody, must go to the planning board. This means our zoning official has 2 towns. One which says everything has to go to the planning board, and we're going to change ours saying, no, you don't have to go to the planning board. So we have an official saying, I work there, everybody goes to the planning board. I work here. Why can't we be like Rochelle Park? Maybe they changed their ordinance the way we had it. Maybe that's why they changed it. I have a newspaper clipping. It was in the community news. We have 11 acres, 11-acre site down next to the DPW building. That's over 10,000 square feet. And as a matter of fact, it has 180,000 square feet. Now we have to wait for the zoning official to say maybe that has to come back to the planning board. It's 180,000 square feet. Takes up the whole area down there. 11 acres. Should automatically come to us, as in the planning board when I say us. This is a major, major project. I'm not sure why this ordinance is being introduced if everything's coming back to us anyway. This ordinance, as I said, does not affect Market Street or Route 4. That's still part of our book. You'd have to put that and change that ordinance. Mr. Kaplan mentioned another thing. Excuse me, Mrs. Mady, you mentioned it. We used to have a flea market. They came in and they told the building inspector, or the subcode official at the time, we're gonna have a few stores in there. Okay. It was a flea market. Completely bamboozled. It was a flea market. The police were down there constantly. The ambulance corps was down there constantly. The fire department was checking out to see how many people in there. What a major burden. That was the thing that convinced us to have everything come to the planning board. We had a dollar store on Route 4, where there presently is going to be a laundromat. Excuse me, not a laundromat, a dry cleaner.
It's frightening.
That dollar store created such a parking problem. You're going to laugh when I tell you this. Remember they wanted to secede to Fairlawn? A few years ago? They were going to secede to Fairlawn because everybody was parking on that street and they couldn't get into their own houses. So that's another major item. So those are three big items that we're trying. Since everything comes to the planning board now, we haven't had any of these problems. The zoning officer wrote us a note in which he says one of the pros to keeping it the way it is that we get a resolution. And the resolutions are under oath, and it's positive for him to have that resolution. So it's important that we have these resolutions. The present ordinance is not broken. I don't know why we're trying to fix it. The residents seem happy with what's going on. I haven't had any complaints from residents about parking in front of their houses or anything else. And I think that that is what we should continue to keep. I'm also very concerned with the situation that exists with the new apartments down on River Drive. We have people coming in there, the stores going underneath those apartments. And I think the planning board, who has already heard some of that application, is having trouble with parking. I hope that comes back to the planning board. They originally told us, and then they withdrew their application, that they wanted to make it one big gym. Now that's very important, because if you have one big gym, where's all that parking going down there? Plus, the church is going in, a Korean Presbyterian church is going into the old athletic club. I don't know how many, they went to the zoning board, not the planning board, and the zoning board said they didn't have enough parking. It went to court, and the court overturned that and says they have enough parking. I don't know where they're going to have the parking. On a Sunday, you're going to have everybody going to church. God bless them. Hope they do go. You're going to have the gym open, and you're going to have 154 apartments. Where's everybody going to park? So you're going to have the planning board to at least review that and come up with some suggestions. Okay? Nobody's ever been denied, except those two, and they were overturned in court. So we're very observant as to what should go in. We try to help everybody out. It certainly looks that way. And as I said earlier, it costs $100 if you come to the planning board. If you're not an LLC, you don't have to pay for a lawyer. So it's not a major detriment to the people. Okay, Mr. Kazmar, you can talk to the public later.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Okay, a few questions. You said 99% have been approved, which is probably true. But that doesn't make it right or wrong. That doesn't mean that the zoning official wouldn't approve or not approve the 99%. He has to follow the same zoning laws that you have in place for the zoning board. Nobody can circumvent them because nobody's above the law. The eyes and ears of 9 people or 18 eyes versus one who's professional, who does this every day of his life, reviews plans, reviews site plans, compared to some lay people up here that have no idea what a site plan is, all right, and what they're looking at. But I'm not going to get into that. What I'm going to get into is the last statement you made about the gym. A great example. They came back to put a gym in. The zoning officer would have pulled out the application and says, no, this is what's not what was approved. This is what's approved.
Nothing's been approved.
You would have to go back to the board.
Nothing's been approved. They were supposed to put stores in there.
Right, well, that was on the site plan.
No, he can come in whatever he wants.
Well, Mayor, you said he was approved site plan before he got the apartments.
And he's
by
coming
the
in
master.
asking, and he's coming in asking.
May I finish, Mayor?
Sure you can.
but that was approved by the Mount Laurel decision. He was supposed to be stores or whatever it was under the one side. He came back into the first units for the gym. He would have taken up that site plan, and if there was a question or doubt in the zoning official's mind, it would go back to the planning board. Now, as far as reviewing for, like, you're saying that businesses do not complain. A lot of businesses do complain, but they're afraid of being blackballed at that level.
Oh,
Okay,
come
now,
on,
Mayor, let me ask
excuse
you
me for
this.
interrupting.
Let me-
Blackballed.
let me-
I've been here 41 years on
Mayor,
the planning
can I
board.
finish,
And you're
please? I
telling me,
have the
about- they
floor.
call
Would
you
Mayor,
at home.
I
They
was
don't call me
patient.
at
I let
home.
you talk. Would you let me talk, please?
I'm trying to, but you're getting me
Mayor, I
upset.
didn't interrupt you, did I?
I'm getting me upset.
I'm sorry.
Blackball. Who are you saying they're black?
All right, did you want to hear the rest of it?
Go ahead, finish.
I asked this at the last meeting. Didn't you get a letter from a real estate broker
No,
that detailed why
No.
businesses don't come? Absolutely not.
absolutely not. I
No
asked my
letter, no
secretary.
correspondence,
No, can
nothing.
you tell me the name of the broker?
I will not do that.
Then why did you bring it up?
Okay,
If you're not going to tell us
if he
why.
comes forward, I'll bring him. All right, now.
Well, if you know, how come I don't know? And I'm asking you
That's what I'm
publicly.
wondering why you don't know, because I heard it went to you.
I asked my secretary, did we get anything? She said, absolutely
Okay.
not. Now, I'm asking you, if you know, as a public official.
Mayor, I'm not going to say it, but I was told that a letter was sent from a prominent real estate broker in town detailing why a lot of businesses go to Fairlawn, Wallington, Saddlebrook, Garfield. And by the way, Rochelle Park in our town is one of the few, if not the only ones that have this ordinance in place going to the planning board. If you look at the way Garfield's progressed, you look at the way Saddlebrook's progressed, and Fairlawn on River Road has progressed, just open your eyes, because the zoning laws are a little, not different, but they're easier to get in the door. As far as the guy having,
Excuse me,
the mayor, I'm
Lodi
not
is
done.
much
As-
different.
as
Lodi's
far-
much different.
Lodi has it too. It's a little different, but Lodi does have it. Look what they did to downtown Main Street. Now, as far as the cost-wise, that they do not have to have an attorney. If they're not an LLC, no, they don't have to have an attorney. But bear in mind, you're a business. You're not going to come here if you do not know land use law when this site is being represented by an attorney. Definitely, even a layperson would bring an attorney with them, and it's going to cost them money, and it does cost them money. And this is a fact of the whole business district, why certain businesses under 10,000 square feet, case in point, and I'll say this again, business to business. Nothing changes, just the owner. Does that have to go to the planning board? That's wrong. And this is what this ordinance is all about. I'm sorry it got twisted around the last few discussions here, but in the work meetings, we went through this 3 times, and our lawyer will be here at the next meeting to give us all the details on it. Now, as far as the inspector being part-time in Rochelle Park, he's doing more work than 2 inspectors did which I spearheaded shared services. He's doing more work than 2 guys with no permits being backlogged, none whatsoever, and we're taking in more money than we ever did. Now, as far as the other one, we could say, well, what if we get another zoning official here who's not the same? Well, if he's not doing his job and you didn't screen him right, you fire him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about streamlining a process that's in place. These ordinances, whether they follow them, we all have to follow these ordinances. If they come to the planning board and say, we're going to put a bakery in there, and later they have a pizza parlor in there, they have a problem. But they can tell them, hey, what do you want to hear? Here's Mr. Planning Board, we'll give you 5 parking spots, but later we're going to have 20. Who's going to enforce it? The building inspector. It's the same thing.
Then why are we changing anything? If it's the same
I
thing,
just told you.
why are we changing anything? I don't
I just
understand.
told you for the small business people.
It has
not
nothing
the
to do
10,000
with
square
Market
feet,
Street.
the
If you
small
want to
business
change it,
people.
excuse me, if you want to change it to the small business, then tell the building subcode
We
official
did.
to outline something that certain bakeries, hair salons coming in, they'll be
You
eliminated.
cannot,
I don't
particular building, you
understand.
cannot tell the
I don't
exec mayor, you
understand
cannot
why-
say what use. When you put it, if you don't like the
Excuse me.
zoning laws, you change the zoning laws.
I like the zoning laws.
No, if you don't want,
I like the
You don't
zoning laws.
want-
Mr. Chewinski, I like the zoning. It's been 6 or
we
7
were against the
years.
apartments on River Road, they went to court and beat us.
Well, the court's going to
But
do
that's,
that.
we love the zoning laws, but we could have changed the zoning laws maybe for some type of Mount Laurel use.
Nobody has complained. You refuse to tell this council
Mayor,
who the person
I beg
is.
to differ with you. If the person wants to come forward, I'll ask him.
Fine, fine. And that would be one
No,
One
but there's many
One.
more, there's many more, Mayor.
Then why hasn't the many more come to
I
us?
just told you why.
What?
This is-
Blackball?
this is like people who
Shame
complain
on
about
you.
the police.
Shame, blackball.
Oh, Mayor.
Where did we ever? Wait a minute, your wife wants to help you.
She does. It's a Chamber of Commerce. There's 60 members there. I'll bring them.
Bring all of them here.
All right, Mayor.
Why didn't
We
they?
had 'em.
They go to you. They don't come to me. They don't go to Larry. They don't come to the council.
Well, they would have been here tonight. Excuse me. They would have been here tonight, but I understood this was supposed to be tabled because the proper paperwork did not get to our zoning board, our planning board rather, to review it. So I figured this would have been tabled, so I
It
did
is
send a letter
tabled.
out to them, that it is tabled. I didn't think there was going to be discussion, else all 60 members of the chamber would have been here.
Let them come and let
But
them...
Mayor, that's just what I'm telling you, they weren't here because, Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, you told me this was going to be tabled. I didn't know there was going to be discussion on this.
Has to be discussed.
All right.
It will need to be tabled.
Okay,
Now-
so we'll rediscuss it with the next meeting, and I welcome the public to be there at the work meeting
And
also.
I would like the chamber to indicate specific individuals who felt they would be blackballed if they came to a planning board meeting and they were going to be denied. I would like to know that, who they are, and then I would like, and I wouldn't ask them, what are they afraid of coming to planning board? It costs $100.
No, it doesn't, Mayor, it costs more than $100.
If you're not an LLC...
Mayor, even if it's a private
Excuse me,
individual, he
Mr.
brings an
Chewinski?
attorney, and it, don't mislead the people. It
Excuse
does
me.
cost you 45
Excuse me,
days
Mr.
at least.
Chewinski, when you run for mayor, you can take over the meeting. Right now, I'm mayor. The problem that you have is we have 50% of the people who come to the planning board don't bring an attorney. They don't bring an attorney. Unless they need an attorney to smooth something over.
If they're homeowners for a variance, I understand, but if the business is 90% of them bring an attorney and an engineer.
I'm just telling you, about 50%
50%
don't
of what,
bring an
Mayor?
attorney.
50% of the homeowners, 50% of the
No,
business?
50.
You have your statistics?
We
with
don't
you?
have homeowners coming in.
Sure you do, you have variances for
Goes
all
to the
kinds of
zoning
things.
board.
They still come to the planning board too.
They don't get, homeowners don't come to the planning
The
board or
variance,
anything like
Mayor.
that. They go to the zoning board. Any other comment?
Yeah, I would like to make a comment,
Beating
Mayor.
dead here.
Sure.
The last time we had this meeting, last time we discussed this in public, I said nothing for over half an hour. But I'm not going to sit here tonight and not say anything else anymore. And we may be here for another hour, because I'm not going to stop until I'm finished. And I'm not going to be interrupted either. I didn't interrupt one person here. First, for the public that's here, I want to apologize for what you displayed, what you see on display here tonight. Whether you like what we're trying to do or not, I can respect that opinion. We've had several meetings on this, work and in public. We've had one meeting, as many members from the business community were able to attend. There was quite a few there. So we've all had this opportunity to discuss this, discuss our angles, discuss what everyone thought it worked, how it didn't work, what their years of knowledge and so forth on this issue. At the end of the day, this whole concept was to help those businesses that are coming into town that, for example, like the bakery. It's the same business, nothing was different. And the person had come to 3 meetings, cost them over $3,000 plus. And I just happened to go into that business the other day, struggling, they're trying to get marketing going, everything else. That is exactly what we're talking about. At the end of the day, even if it did come to the planning board, that was money he could have saved and used it towards marketing and promotionings. The building officer could have approved that right away, because at the end of the day, once they approve it, he's the one who has to enforce it anyway. And he has to enforce the laws. And I'm not going to get into a debate here about the whole planning board stuff and everything else. I've been to some of those meetings. I'm going to say something I know the mayor's going to just jump out of his chair. Of the handful of meetings I've been to, I've seen some arrogantness from them, and not even all of them even ask questions, of the few that I've been to. So with that, it's a small vision of what they do when they are here. There are some that are very good on that board that I've actually voted for to put on over the years I've been here as well. So the spirit of this whole ordinance was to help those. There's other businesses in town that are just as small coming in, that have come in, and it took them a lot longer to get in. And I want everyone here to understand, and those who catch us on TV, there is some ramifications of all that. The longer the bakery sat empty to be the same exact business, the landlord, who actually is here in town, owns another business, he actually was losing rent. Yet he's still paying his taxes. He helps keep our tax ratables down. He's losing on an empty store to get a guy in who wants to do exactly the same thing. And at the end of the day, if he deviates from it and brings in 10 employees, the zoning officer is going to go in there, the building officer, and they're going to go in there and say, you're violating what this business was supposed to be. You got over the same thing. And I'm not going to get into all the technicalities, because there's plenty of people here that can tell you what the technicalities are. But that is what this whole concept was about. Nothing else. I mean, I was actually at the planning board when that whole proposal came in for the 5 stores and everything. And it turned out to be that the residence, if I'm not mistaken, the apartment complex is over the property line. Your garages sit on their property. If I'm not mistaken, this Mel's shaking his head yes. So actually, you're over the residents were actually over encroaching on his property. And he could turn around and tell you to take your garages down. But, I don't know where I thought that project was dead, that's the last I was told, but obviously it's not dead. So, excuse me?
One garage.
I thought it was more, if I'm not mistaken, big property line. I remember that argument going on. This is not to hurt anybody, it's not to create any more havoc, it's to help those other businesses that want to come in and take over the same type like business. Same exact, on paper, everything, to be exact. The baker who came in, I hope he has a very successful career. He matched everything perfectly. The deliveries, right, Mr. Kaplan shaking his head.
Yes.
The building inspector would have done the same exact thing. And he could have got in like that. Basically, he could have been making cakes for now 2 months. So that's what this was all about. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to sit here and give names either. Because I'm going to tell you that there are businesses, that if you speak, and they really speak from the heart, most of the businesses in town will tell you that this is an anti-business town. That's what they'll tell you. Whether I agree with them or not, I'll stand there and I'll say, well, what are we doing wrong, and so forth, and what don't you like we're doing, and how can we improve your business, or how can we improve you? What do you need us to do? Parking is always going to be a big issue. We just don't have that kind of parking. Are there things down the road we could look at for parking? Possibly. But I don't have all those answers either tonight. But I want to share with everybody, we had lots of discussions on this, lots of meetings. And a member, the chairman of the planning board was at that meeting. He shared his opinions on it and everything and so forth. Well, the businesses were there, like I said. We had a good turnout from businesses. And, this just didn't, I don't want you folks leaving here tonight. We've listened to the resume of the planning board and everything else. This was not just done overnight. It wasn't done carelessly. Whether or not it gets passed in a month from now, or in September, or it just gets dumped. This had a thorough discussion, and all angles were discussed, in my opinion anyway. Thank you, Mayor, for giving me the time.
You're welcome. Anybody else? If not, Mr. Kazmark, you want to continue with the agenda?
Mayor, you need a motion to table.
Motion to table, please.
So moved.
Mr.
You me.
Castiglia, second?
Second.
Mr. Valentino. Any discussion? Full of roll, please.
On
No
roll call-
discussion on the table.
On a roll call, motion to table resolution 230-12 to introduce ordinance 12-13 on second reading. Council members Castiglia,
Yes.
Paletti,
Yes.
Tomboy,
Yes.
Chouinski.
Yes.
Monsino.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
And it's my understanding that this will be placed on the August 2nd work agenda.
Has it gone to the planning board?
Yes. Resolution 231-12, introduced ordinance 12-14 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend Chapter 17 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park titled Environmental Protections. Whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, June 21st, 2012, and that further consideration of this ordinance will be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend Chapter 17 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Environmental Protections pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open.
Anyone on to be heard on this ordinance?
What is it about?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
All three of the ordinances that will follow on the agenda are relative to Department of Environmental Protection stormwater management requirements. That we have to amend our ordinance to match those guidelines that are provided by the state.
Mayor, if I may, on that ordinance. Mel, basically what's happening is some of the things that touch upon this from the DEP, like dumpsters on commercial properties have to be covered. They cannot be left uncovered for rain to get in, certain things like this, no runoff, which will affect our DPW too, because all those containers now have to be continuously covered. The only exemptions will be construction dumpsters like at your house
Yeah,
and the like, but basically that's what it's, except for stormwater drains.
thank you.
Mayor, can we take a motion to open to the public?
May I have a motion? Mr. Vancino, Mr. Work, any discussion? All in favor? Does anybody want to be heard? No one wishes to be heard? I'll close the public portion of the meeting.
Mayor, on roll call to adopt resolution 12-14, resolution 231-11 to adopt ordinance 12-14 on second reading. Council members Castiglia,
Yes.
Paletti,
Yes.
Conway.
Yes.
Chouwinski.
Yes.
Monsino.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 232-12, introduced ordinance 12-15 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend Chapter 17 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Environmental Protections, and whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, June 21st, 2012, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend Chapter 17 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Environmental Protections passed on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
Motion, please, Mr. Vincino, Mr. Work, all in favor, opposed, anyone wants to speak on it? I'll close the public portion of the meeting.
Take a motion to adopt, Mayor.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Vincino, Mr. Work, any discussion?
On roll call, council members Castiglia.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Conway.
Yes.
Chouwinski.
Yes.
Monsino.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution 233-12, introduced ordinance 12-16 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend Chapter 17 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Environmental Protections. And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, June 21st, 2012, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled an ordinance to amend Chapter 17 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Environmental Protections passed on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
Open to the public, Mr. Vincino, Mr. Work, all in favor, opposed, anyone wants to be heard on this? No one, I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion to adopt? Mr. Vincino, Mr. Work, any discussion? Call the roll.
On roll call, council members Castiglia.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Conway.
Yes.
Chouwinski.
Yes.
Monsino.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda. This evening, Mayor, under resolutions, we have a resolution 234-12, payment of bills. Resolution 235-12, confirmation of checks. Resolution 236-12, confirmation of payroll. Resolution 237-12, authorization of a contract with Bear Warnock Fleet, state contract number A78848. Resolution 238-12, appointment of counselors for extended summer camp in the Recreation Department. Resolution 239-12, refund certificate of occupancy fee and fine for 69 Franklin Avenue. Resolution 240-12, refund summer camp registration fee for Jenny Dickworth. Resolution 241-12, approve license of new and used car dealership ESSO Motor Cars Incorporated, trading as Elmwood Auto Mall. Resolution 242-12, approve license of new or used car dealership Formula One Auto Imports LLC. Resolution 243-12, approved license of new or used car dealership for North Jersey Truck Center, Inc. Resolution 244-12, approved license of new or used car dealership for Route 4 Auto Exchange Corp. Resolution 245-12, approved license for new and used car dealership Shore Motor Sales Incorporated. Resolution 245-12, approved license of new and used car dealership for AJS Auto Brokers. Resolution 246-12, renew liquor licenses for the 2012-2013 license term. Resolution 247-12, redeem third-party tax lien Grabaski. Resolution 248-12, refund overpayment due to tax appeal court 251 Molnar Drive Associates. Resolution 249-12, refund of approval of annual block party for Rudolph Avenue. Resolution 250-12, refund Elmwood Park Employee Association dues. Resolution 251-12, execute memorandum of understanding, Keith Kazmark, and Resolution 252-12, authorization for ADA Cooperative Engineering Design Grant. Mayor, if there are any resolutions that the council would like to remove from the consent agenda, we can do that before the motion is taken.
Gentlemen?
Yeah, 248-12. That's the condo project, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any others?
You want it removed?
Not removed, I have to recuse myself
We'll
on
vote on the other
that.
one.
So he has to remove it to
Pull
remove.
that, pull
Yep.
that key.
Okay, we'll vote it separate.
Well, he can just abstain on it, if you want.
I usually vote it separate, right? It doesn't matter.
Okay, I don't
We can vote on it separately.
And how about 251? We have
251?
discussion now.
Yeah, we have to pull 251, we have additional discussion on.
Oh, yeah, we have to further discuss that.
Hold that until executive.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You want to table it?
whatever the proper process.
I think we can pull it off the consent agenda if you're gonna go back to executive session this evening. You know, we can have that discussion then.
That was the plan, I think we were going to discuss that.
Then you want to come back out? and
Come back
vote
out.
on it,
Come
or
back
just
out
want to
here.
table it till
That's
next
at the
time?
council's discretion. I mean, if you pull it off the consent agenda, you can discuss that when we get to executive.
Then we have to come back out again and
I
vote on
think you
it.
have to come back in.
Yes.
Or you can table it, and at the next meeting you can vote on it.
About the public would have to be notified,
No, at the next public council meeting.
but they would have to be re-notified. All right.
Yeah, what would happen is if the council elected to discuss 251-12 in executive session, when we get to the end of the meeting, after the public hearing, we'll make a motion to go into executive session. Council can go back into executive session. We just simply won't adjourn the public meeting, have the discussion in the back, and then come out and vote to table, vote to adopt, or vote to take no action.
Okay, we could also postpone that
You
vote
explain
if
to
we
me
need to.
You would table the
250.
resolution. if you want to
Take,
postpone.
table.
Which we can do. All right, so Mayor, we have a motion on the table to approve the consent agenda
Explain,
with the
explain 250 for Mr. Kaplan.
250 or well,
251?
251.
Yeah.
250.
250 or 251?
251 is the one.
251.
That's the one we're talking about,
Right.
that concerns Mr. Kazmar's.
Understanding, what, I understand.
251 is a document that outlines my agreement with the Borough of Elmwood Park
As to what?
as to my
Employment?
My employment, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're
You
gonna,
are
we're
employed,
pulling,
aren't you?
Last time I checked.
You got paid?
Yes.
no public discussion.
Okay.
We're pulling 248
And 251.
and 251.
So we'll take a motion on the consent agenda without those two resolutions.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Conboy.
Second.
Mr. Work, any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Roll call on the consent agenda with the removal of 248-12 and 251-12. Council members Castiglia,
Yes.
Coletti,
Yes,
Conboy,
Yes.
Chawinski,
Yes.
Alcino.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
Mayor will need a motion on resolution 248-12.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Castiglia, Conboy, discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Castiglia,
Yes.
Coletti,
abstain?
Conboy,
Yes.
Chawinski,
Abstain.
Alcino.
Yes.
Work.
Yes.
Motion carries on resolution 248-12. Mayor, this evening under applications, we have the St. Leo's Church raffle application, Games and Wheels, and the St. Leo's raffle application for their 55th.
Motion to receive and
moved.
file?
Second.
Mr. Von, moved by Mr. Conboy, second by Mr. Work. Discussion, all in
Aye.
favor, opposed, so ordered. Before we get into committee reports,
Mayor, we have departmental reports, I'm sorry.
I know, but before we get into departmental, well, okay, departmental reports, yeah.
I just need a motion on the departmental reports.
So moved.
Mr. Castiglia, Mr. Conboy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered.
Thank you.
We're moving along nicely, considering the fact that Mr. Kazmar is a new father as of last night. So he now has a son and a baby daughter. And his eyes, I hope, I can't see him, but I hope they're still open. We all want to
She hasn't come home yet.
and we all want to congratulate him on his budding family.
Thank you, Mayor.
What are we up to?
Committee reports.
We're up to Mr. Castiglia.
Very short tonight, Mayor. Happy to say. Planning board. Let's see, new businesses coming into town. We got two mortgage companies coming in, one over on Route 46, where 1001 used to be. And there's also, another mortgage company coming in at 254 Broadway. I never understood that really. Don't you just go to the bank for a mortgage? These guys help, they help you get a mortgage. All right.
Must be a housing boom, Larry.
Yeah, I guess, everybody's out there looking for houses, right? We also have a sales office coming in on Market Street, 440 Market Street. It's just telephone marketing mostly. It's gonna be one person with one car, so that fits in pretty nicely. And that's it, Mayor. Oh, one other thing. In the old Loose Type building, we have a personal trainer coming in there. He's Mike Nunziato. He has it's a weight training facility. It's by appointment only. You can't just walk it off the street. You have to be one of their clients. And it was very interesting. As a matter of fact, the linebacker from the Chicago Bears was here, was a partner with him. He was playing Costanzo. He was playing for the 49ers last year, and he made that big hit against the New Orleans Saints that jarred the ball loose and turned the game around. But he was right here. He's going to be partners in this deal. So it's going to be an operation where there's not a lot of people going in. Like I said, you know, in and out. They have classes. I think they have 7 members in a class at one time. So it's in the old Oostdijk building. It's toward the back of the building, so it shouldn't be.
That's the new Markel.
It's the new Marcal building, right? So that shouldn't be a problem at all. It sounds like a good enterprise coming in there. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Conboy.
Thanks, Mayor. Gee, I think I told my wife I'd be home early.
Oh, boy.
We can still work on that.
Yeah, well, last meeting, public, I didn't say anything. Okay, let's see. I guess I'll start with the Chamber of Commerce. They had their their meeting in the month of July. It was a very good meeting. Usually in the summer, most organizations take the summer off because most of the membership goes away or on vacations. But I got to give the Chamber of Commerce a lot of credit to the members, a couple of members here in the audience tonight. They had a very good turnout. They usually meet at a different location every month to move it around and give everybody a chance to see other businesses in town. They had a very good turnout. I'd say overall, well over 30 attendees, 30 businesses in town. They're up to over 60 membership now, doing quite well after reestablishing itself. And a couple of things they're working on. They have they're unselfish to themselves. They've been looking to give back to the community quickly. Although I keep telling them they should try to how we can help with them, but they want to give back to the community. They've already done a lot of things, made a lot of donations to different things, Community Day, other events, and something that the Chamber of Commerce is going to be sponsoring in September, on September 23rd. They're going to host their first annual 5K run, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. It's going to happen right here in town. They're working very close with all of our departments, DPW, police, recreation, school, to be able to pull this off. Every year, hopefully will always be successful, and this will be the first of many. And this year, they're going to be a portion of the monies raised for this 5K run are going to go to Justin and Jason Leader, as you all know. Let Them Be Little is 2 of our children live here in town, and also one of our officers, one of our officers, Officer Pestranzi. His son Brandon is suffering with some medical issues, and so the funds are going to go towards that. My posters are getting bigger and bigger there for you over there, big guy. So please get involved. Everyone can get involved in this. From your pets, you can walk with your pets, to our seniors, to children, to all kinds. So a lot of these posters all around town in front of all the businesses. You can certainly get involved. Please be a part of it. It's a great thing that they're doing. And already the Chamber is looking at other ways to be involved in the community. They're going to be involved also in National Night Out. And since I mentioned National Night Out, you'll start seeing the advertisement in the community news, as well as the big bulletin board outside that the police department will put up. August 7th will be National Night Out from 6:30 to 8:30. A lot of fun. Back in the day, it used to be maybe 10 people or 5 people or less used to show up. One night Larry and I showed up and we couldn't even get in the picture. I thought they must have thought we were too good looking.
Yeah.
So we couldn't even get in the picture. But now last year we know we got over 500 people. So it's over at the rec center in the open area. It's going to be beautiful out. The spray ground park will be open and so forth. Be a lot of fun. There'll be some free foods and so forth. So nice out for 2 hours. Hopefully it'll be cool out. So please get in on that on National Night Out, which will be throughout the country. Recreation meeting took place Tuesday night. I'm very excited by a lot of the news that's coming out of the Recreation Department and the Commission. They're working very hard. They already have blueprints and designs for restructuring the new field house, which is also known as the HUD. The new field house is going to be renovated to be very community user-friendly, in addition to the many other functions that are happening at the Recreation Building. The Recreation Building, if you haven't been in it, please go check it out. It looks very nice. They've actually did some modifications. It's gotten a paint job. There's new gym pads going in the gymnasium. The programs there are doing very well, and you guys should check it out. It looks very nice. Even for our seniors, quite a few things happening on down there. through the senior center as well as the rec, and check that out, like I said. Summer camp, I just want to thank all the parents who have come back to our summer camp and all of our new parents that joined our summer camp. Our summer camp last year didn't do so well because we had 2 summer camps going in town, so we're kind of competing with the same audience, but I'm very proud to report that over 260 kids this year are using our camp. So it's a very good number up from last year, and I want to thank all those parents. I was there today, the kids are having a lot of fun, and a lot of things are happening. We're also getting ready down at English Avenue for those residents who live in that area. English Avenue is about to get its next infusion of open space money to continue to work on the grading over there and the expansion of the field there and the play area. A lot has already happened. I got you, 5 minutes. We're very excited. We're also going to be applying next month for the open space money for another $200,000 grant. And just so everyone knows, that's what you have to keep me quiet. Just so everyone knows, that money's $100,000 of it will come from actually the county, which we're just going back to recapture some of our tax dollars we send them. So that's going to be real nice. There'll be another insertion for next year. They have a lot. Yeah, I know. I know. I'm almost done. So
Everybody 1 minute?
yeah. So it looks really nice. It's going to look real great down there. I also want to thank Debbie Ritchie and Frank Cavelli. Frank Cavelli is our joint insurance fund rep, and Debbie Ritchie is our Board of Health officer. They both came to the rec meeting to update the commissioners and everybody else on update on new things that are happening with the insurance and also in the code of Board of Health. And also Keith, congratulations. Thank you. Don't text me at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm on. You can always text. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Bonsino, thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr.
Yes, Mayor,
Bonsino?
thank you.
Hold it. And
Want to cut it now?
It's the end of the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to have a short recess while he changes the film.
5 minutes.
Mr. Kazmark, new dad. We're up to Mr.
Mr. Bonsino.
We're up to Mr. Bonsino. He has 1 minute that Mr. Conboy allowed.
Thank you, Mayor. Real quick comment from our police department. Chief Johnson is very close to bringing on 2 new officers on our department. We have some final paperwork we have to get through, so potentially August, or I guess maybe by the latest September, we'll be able to bring those officers on board. He's also working in parallel on dispatchers. That's our next step, is to go and bring on dispatchers into our department. I think the governing body, though, has to do a little bit of work on entry-level job requirements to help the chief out. So we asked the mayor to put that on our work meeting agenda for the 2nd of August, so we could work with Tom Johnson on that. And both our ambulance corps and police department are supporting the preparations for National Night Out, as Councilman Conboy mentioned earlier. It's going to be a lot of fun for the residents of Elmwood Park, but I want everyone to remember the purpose of National Night Out is to increase awareness of what our law enforcement officers do for our community, and show a spirit of oneness, to leave a message for the people who want to commit a crime in town, that our residents and our police department are one in making this a safe community for everybody. So I encourage as many residents as possible to come out and support that initiative to those ends. And finally, I just want to congratulate Mr. Kazmark again on the addition to his family, and have fun in 13 years. Thank you, Council.
Mayor, may I just have 1 quick minute, please? I swear. Just 1 quick minute. I swear. Thank you, Mayor. Folks, real quick.
I didn't answer. He's going
Well,
on.
you smile. That's usually a yes. I also want to mention to the folks that live near Elmwood Park, Elmwood Drive Park, we have new tables and benches being installed hopefully by next week. We have them in storage. They're going to be put into the park there, so in that, the circle there, there's a bench, a couple of benches and a table. But also, folks, over in the parks, we do spend a lot of money. Thankfully, we get a lot back from open space. But please, if you see after hours in the dark, I know nobody wants to call the police department and feel like you're ratting on somebody or calling in on somebody for ramifications if you do. Recourses from those who you call on. But in our parks lately, unfortunately, especially over in Birchwood, We keep fixing the same tables. They're beautiful. It's got a little sun thing and beautiful tables. They're bolted to the ground. They've been ripped out. One's been ripped out completely, drawn and pulled across. It's not a nice size, it's not a nice thing you want to talk about in your community, but the police have been down there, they're trying to stop this. But actually, we had a resident, very nice person, said that they saw it, but they didn't want to be the one who calls on the kids because of what could maybe happen if they find out they called. Please, if you see it, your name's not going to be given to the kids. Tell us. Or if you see adults do, whoever you see doing, I don't just blame the kids, it could be anybody. So please, thank you. Watch out for all parks. They're your parks, our parks. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me that extra.
If you don't want to call me at home. I'm up till 12, 1 o'clock every evening. My number is listed, and I will call the police department for you. But don't be afraid to call. Mr. Coletti.
Well, you can call me also, but not after 12. On July 18th, which was last night, the school board held a special meeting. Basically, it was just housekeeping items, such as teachers moving and hiring of new teachers. And there's nothing new on the busing issue situation.
Explain it.
The busing?
Yes.
The busing, the school district has in the past supported financially the busing of our children throughout the whole town, and based on budgetary restraints, they're claiming that they can't afford to do this any longer, and since then have said that there will be no busing with exception of some that is mandatory by state that they are required to do. Since then, nothing has changed. We're looking to see if some type of resolve had come from Trenton. Not at the moment. Any questions?
So, no busing?
As of now, I haven't heard anything.
I just wanted you to explain to the public why
Yeah.
this is an issue.
Yes, absolutely. On July 22nd, representatives from Elmwood Park, Fairlawn, and state district legislators met regarding the unsafe conditions at the Route 4 Park and Ride overpass. The consensus was that the current crossing light for pedestrians was unsafe. The legislators suggested that we get the engineering process started to implement a more effective and safe crossing light system. Simultaneously, they would be working on acquiring the funds for the remediation. And I say, before there's a tragedy there, damn the torpedoes and full steam ahead. Mayor?
Thank you. Mr. Trawinsky.
Yeah. Congratulations, Keith. I got your text too about 12, was that 12:30? Was that the time?
12:50.
10 to 12, okay. I attended the JIF meeting this past Wednesday, which is the Joint Insurance Fund for the town. So far to date, and this is 8 months, Elmwood Park has no claims, and therefore our lost time accident frequency rate is 0, which is very good. We're one of the few towns that our public employees are doing a good job. There'll be various safety courses offered at the JIF Center and various towns throughout the rest of the year regarding best practices for the workplace. There'll be no JIF meeting in August. They're all on vacation. And the last but not least, on the Workman's Comp Claim Committee, which I do sit, it seems that we're having endless DPW workers, people who lift garbage cans being hurt. I mean, big claims coming in. And the committee is starting to look to have some kind of fitness test for these people, because they're supposed to be able to lift 50 pounds without hurting a rotor cuff or their back or something, but a lot of them are getting injured. All right. On the fire department front, they're working on National Night Out with Tom and the rest of the committee. Engine 2 right now is out for repairs. All pumps on all fire trucks will be inspected and tested as of August. The fire department's going to provide the lights for St. Leo's Carnival. And an update on the Marcal roof fire that was last month that was pretty precarious. Marcal has been meeting with their engineers and taking corrective measures. At the Monday night's chiefs meeting with the fire department, they're very impressed with them because they were called in as the construction is going on. on the roof itself, the fire department chiefs were able to witness some of the ongoing remedies that they're doing. They're draft stopping various sections of the roof so they don't have this problem again. They're upgrading their fans and their filters. They're even putting new standpipes to the roof in the event there is a fire. But they're very impressed, and they're happy with the way that Markel has been keeping them in the loop. The Bergen County dive team had just acquired, just for your information, an underwater robot, which will be accessible to all the towns in need of investigations. I don't know when we're going to use it, but it's going to be available.
Male or female?
And the last on the ordinance committee, I was going to talk about the continued COs, but we beat that to death. But there is an ordinance on the agenda we're talking about for fire hydrant maintenance that the fire department asked us to look into. There's 24 hydrants on private property as of this time, and a good part of them, according to our fire marshal, are not maintained. If you notice, certain times of the year, our DPW goes out and flushes these hydrants in the streets. Well, this is not being done on some of the commercial properties. What this ordinance will do is put this into the hands of our DPW, if we can, where they will take care of the maintenance and bill direct to the individual companies. And last but not least, I'd like to bring something to your attention that's been on the internet, that Rich Trowinski is closing the library. That's an outright lie. We're not closing the library. We're looking, there is funds available for them to upgrade it, ADA standards and all that. We're just trying to be prudent with the way they spend their money. But in no way, shape, or form by closing the library or anybody on this council. Thank you.
Mr. Wirt? Thank you, Mr. Truinsky.
Thank you, Mayor. The Elmwood Park Health Department will be continuing to offer the free adult consultation and child health clinics to the residents of Elmwood Park. The next free adult consultation and blood pressure clinic will be held on August 21st from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the Elmwood Park Senior Center, located in Market Street and Boulevard. It's not being held at the Borough Hall, municipal building, but at the Senior Center. No appointment is required. Walk-in residents are welcome. And this clinic is now open to the residents of Elmwood Park, Saddlebrook, and now Lodi, over the age of 18. Membership with the Senior Center is not required. And basically the blood pressure program, I don't know if you can see this, is not in color. It's that you prevent and manage blood pressure, your body fat composition, focus on nutrition for healthy living, manage stress, and also community health resources. So basically these blood pressure clinics will be held every third Thursday of every month from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And the sponsors of this program is the Elmwood Park Health Department, the Elmwood Park Senior Center, in conjunction with the Health Awareness Regional Program of Hackensack University Medical Center. The next child health clinics, which also includes free immunizations, will be held on August 6th, Monday evening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and on August 2nd, Thursday morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Please remember, immunizations required by the Board of Education are available at these clinics. And once again, these clinics offer free well visits and free immunizations for families that are underinsured and uninsured. And these clinics are by appointment only, so please call the Elmwood Park Board of Health at 201-996-2038 to set up your appointment. And the child health clinic will still be held in the clinic room in the lower level of the municipal building. You can use the Market Street entrance for this clinic. Also, the Board of Health is also hosting another food handler certificate class, which will be held on August 1st at 6:30 in the recreation game room at the Recreation Center. These food handlers courses are actually for volunteers who work in concession stands at non-profit organizations in town, such as Elmwood Park Little League, Elmwood Park Junior Baseball League, the basketball programs, soccer programs. And basically it helps the volunteers to learn how to handle the food. So we want to be sure to prevent anything, anybody getting sick from mishandling the food. So all of these volunteers are going to these classes to learn this. It's very important because in the past, you've seen there was a big incident in New York State, non-profit organization mishandled food, and about 150 people got sick and very ill. So these volunteers, Board of Health is not charging anybody. They're going in to learn how to handle food, so we prevent any sort of any sort of illnesses going around. The Elmwood Park Board of Health has also begun a new shared service agreement with Lodi. Our health officers has been going to Lodi to set up the programs, the health inspections required. This shared service agreement will bring in an additional $44,900 to Elmwood Park. This is the second shared service agreement that Elmwood Park Health Department has get involved with. The first one was with Saddle, which has worked extremely well. That brought an additional $25,000. And not only that, the health officers is also doing the inspections of Elmwood Park right now, which is saving us an additional $27,000. So right now, the health officer, since 2 years ago, is saving this town $97,000. My compliments to her. She's doing an outstanding job. And the Board of Health, also realizing the success of the shared services agreement with Saddlebrook and Lodi, are coming up with a plan to share service with additional municipalities, along with providing additional services to these municipalities. It may include hiring one additional personnel for the Board of Health to also look into do the food inspections at these towns. But of course, the mayor and council has to have preliminary discussions taken on these additional responsibilities. They will once again need to crunch the numbers to see if it's going to be, profitable and feasible for the town to take on these additional responsibilities. Also on the Elmwood Park Association
He's only got a
homeowners
stack
meeting.
left about that much. Also.
There's no homeowners meeting this week, but they will be sponsoring a casino bus trip to Mount Airy Casino. It will be next Friday, July 27th. The bus leaves 10 a.m. from the Elmwood Park Recreation parking lot and returns at 7:30 p.m. The cost is $25. Returns $25 cash voucher and a $10 food voucher. So all are welcome. Contact Linda Colombini at 201-966-7694 for more information. And they will also be hosting an Italian festival and show featuring Mr. Vincent Telleracca at the Brownstone on September 26th. And the time for that will be 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The cost is $43.50 for non-members, and for Elmwood Park homeowner members will be $23.50. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Just a comment, and I appreciate all the work that Mr. Work, Councilman President Work, has done with the Board of Health to save us this money. If I can comment on Councilman Boncino, the statement that we may be hiring two new police officers. One will be a male and one will be a female, so we'll now have two female officers. And she speaks both English and Italian and Spanish. So if these people are hired, we're moving into getting people who can speak to more different ethnic groups in Elmwood Park. Secondly, the library board is sponsoring a concert over at Borough Field on Saturday at 7 p.m. So if you enjoy sitting out in the lawn, bring your chair and come to the concert on Saturday. I'm going to continue talking for about another hour and a half because I see Mr. Conti coming. He's trying to cut me short. He's sitting down. So if you're interested in listening to some good music, come to the concert, Borough Field, behind the Recreation Center. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard? Name and address, Mr. Conti.
Steve Conti, 274 Market Street. Spirited discussion this evening. I think Mr. Conboy explained it quite well. That's the only comment I'll make on that issue. Have we got a legal interpretation from the attorney regarding are we issuing the COs properly? Because at that work session, we were told by a land use attorney, what we're doing is not legal. Did we ever get a comment from Mr. Gibbons?
The COs are issued by the zoning official. Planning board does not issue COs.
Mm-hmm. Any discussion about, with Fair Lawn, about redeveloping Route 4, along with what they're going to do regarding parking and things like that on Route 4, since parking is always an issue in this town?
I'll let Mr. Kazmark answer that because it's an ongoing process.
We do have representation. I'm the liaison to the Broadway Improvement Corporation. I frequently meet and talk with Don Smart, who is the paid consultant for that organization. They are actually going to be reaching out to us probably in September to attend a work session to try to get something off the ground relative to the Elmwood Park portion of Route 4.
Can anybody tell me what's happening with this gas station on River Road?
The only thing I can tell you is that they did start working on it last month, and I know that the individual who's putting it up has been ill. Now, I don't know if that's the reason that it's been hampered, but I know they have the gas tanks in and they have the pumps up and ready to go, but I don't know. In fact, I just mentioned something to the building inspector, and he was going there to find out exactly where that is. It's been a long time.
I'm trying to be quick. Any resolution with the library board and their nest egg?
They're working on that now in order to get some ADA and maybe something to fix the leak in the roof and that type of thing. They're working on it.
No, but I mean with the balance of what they have.
That will all have to be determined as to how much they need to repair the building.
The apartments on River Road, whatever you want to call them.
High-rise luxury apartments.
Yeah, whatever. Has anybody driven on Route 46 heading west into Patterson and seeing what's on the roof?
No, tell me what's on the roof.
Solar panels.
Okay.
It was brought up to me by Glenn Patagano, who sells solar. But there are no snow fences up there. And if you have a lot of snow on that roof, and all of a sudden you got warm weather, and all this snow melts, there's nothing to break the snow up, and you're going to have these large amounts of snow falling onto the parking lot.
We'll have Mr. Casmar tell the building inspector to go check that out.
Because that is a requirement according to what I've heard. It's nice to see that our health inspector is shared services in other towns. Why don't we think our building inspector isn't doing a good job either? If our health department is doing shared services in other towns.
No one has
Well,
said yet.
I'm just making a comment. Everybody's patting her on the back, and yes, absolutely, she's doing a good job. But why don't we think if the building inspector has this issue to deal with COs, that he can't do it? He can't read plans. He can't read, I mean, Market Street, we always know is a problem with parking. Okay? Boulevard by the apartments is always a problem with parking. Okay? Now, unless the town, and I keep on bringing this up, and I've been bringing it up for 15 years, I can go back 18 years. Unless the town is going to do something to increase parking, a la 7-Eleven, which could have been bought by the town and made a municipal lot, but we didn't do that. Unless you're doing something to redevelop, to improve parking, I don't care what ordinance you change. It's always going to be an issue, especially for residences that live close to businesses.
Anyone else who wishes to speak? Mr. Kaplan?
Mr. Kaplan, Glenwood Avenue, Elmwood Park. Just to follow up, there was a lot of talk about the bakery and or retail establishments on Broadway and Route 4. The planning board has an ordinance, and this is aside from the councilman, for the public on television. The ordinance is if you want to rent a retail establishment on Market Street or Broadway, you cannot exceed the amount of parking that the previous tenant occupied. Now that sounds weird. The reason for it, at one time we had a tremendous amount of nail salons, hair salons, 2, 3 on a block. I don't go to one, but if they had 5 working chairs, there was 5 customers, and at least 3-4 employees, and 2 or 3 sitting in chairs waiting for their next, and they all parked on Market Street for an hour or 2, which meant an establishment like Lil's Deli or the stationery store across the street from it, or the type of business where you're in and out in 10 minutes, whatever, there was no parking for the other retail establishments. So that this ordinance prohibiting parking exceeding the previous tenant let the other retail establishments have parking. Because you were bantering back and forth why the bakery had to come in. Fortunately, the bakery only needs minimal parking. They don't have 20 people at a time. On a Sunday morning, they may have 5 at a time, but there's no other places. But it generally eases up the parking on Broadway and Market Street and limits the amount of high-density parking units to exceed what was there before. Also, Mayor, you mentioned we turned down 2 or 3.
No, we didn't turn them down, they withdrew.
Well, the planning board turned them down. The one big one that we turned down was the apartments, the new apartments that they're building on River Road. How many units? What was that?
150.
150 units. But the planning board turned it down because, now don't laugh, they wanted 1 3/4 parking places per dwelling unit. We turned them down. They went to court. And the bright judge sitting in his ivory tower said, no problem at all. We had to abide by the court order and let them build with 1 3/4 parking places per dwelling unit. While if you're a residential, you own your own house, you require 2 for each parking unit, for each dwelling unit. There is going to be a major problem down there. Believe it.
Thank you, Mel.
Mr. Conti mentioned something that they're putting the panels on the roof. I suggest that you ask the building inspector to check on this. The original plans had air conditioning with the fencing to hide it. The plans have said nothing about, what's it called? Solar panels. Said nothing about.
I already instructed our clerk.
Yeah, I know. Just make sure that you check on that. Good.
Thank you, Mel.
There's nothing in the plans on it. And if they put it up there violating the plan as built.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? If not, can I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Coletti, second by Mr. Castiglia. All in favor? Opposed? So ordered.
Mayor, at this time, I'll read the executive session resolution. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the governing body wishes to discuss personnel matters within the municipal clerk's office, minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires that confidentiality, then the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved that the public be excluded from this meeting. Mayor, we'll need a motion to move
Motion,
into
please.
executive.
Mr. Boncino, Mr. Work, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Motion to adjourn?
Well, but
Mr.
no, Mayor,
Boncino?
you may come out to take action, correct?
I don't know. I want to send you home.
Then you can't adjourn the meeting. You have to adjourn the meeting and come back out. If you decide to take no action, you'll come out and just adjourn the meeting.
I'll
without
adjourn the meeting. I'll adjourn the meeting. Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
God bless you.